Hey folks, Phil here from Questing for Pixels, and today we're going to be taking a look at Ultimate General Gettysburg. This is a game that's been in early access, I guess, for a little bit, and then just came out of early access into release last week, I believe. And it's actually from a guy who does mods for Total War, which is how I ended up picking it up. If you've heard of Darth Mod for some of the Total War games, that same dude is the guy who he has gone on to make this now and is posing it as the start of a Ultimate General series where you can then go on to do more games that are other battles other than Gettysburg with the same kind of style. Basically the same thing that Total War does. This is the gameplay and then just shifts setting around, basically. So, let's hop in real quick here. This is kind of the big intriguing thing to me. So the big selling point here is the AI is real AI that plays on the same fucking playing field that you do. A lot of games give AI either vision or extra resources or whatever, or they can just spawn units, whatever it is, to try and deal with the fact that it's hard to write AI that can beat skilled players. It just is. So this, what he's done is gone and written AI that's supposed to be good enough to beat you without that kind of stuff. And personally, I wouldn't consider myself the best strategy gamer by any means, and I played or tried to play through a couple of rounds so far. Played through the battle a couple of times, and yeah, I'm not doing so well, let's say. Partially, maybe too, because I am bringing a Total War mindset to it. So let's just random the AI and get going here. And you're kind of selecting not only a difficulty there, but also kind of a general, like, whether the AI will take advantage of weaknesses in your lines, or whether they'll be a little more cautious or whatever. And so now we hop in here, and the big thing is everything's supposed to be... I'm not a Civil War buff, so I can't account for the aggregate, but I don't see anybody bitching about it, so I would assume when they make the claim that the map is super accurate and all these units are the units that were actually there and these numbers are the numbers of soldiers that were actually in these units, etc. It's supposed to be historically accurate. I would assume so, because I don't see a bunch of people bitching saying it's not, but I'm not a Civil War buff, so I can't say for 100% sure. But yeah, so you get in here, got kind of shows what units we've got and who's coming to reinforce us, and the battle is split up into a bunch of different phases. So like this first phase here will be the morning of the first day of the battle, and since I'm playing as Union, basically my job is to just cover my ass while I get reinforcements. This is the first thing right here that tripped me off the second I started this up. Really, this is the tutorial. There's a bunch of little fucking just little short movie clips here, like little 5-10 second clips telling you controls, and then there is from the main menu a link to an outside guide on how to play on their forums. Obviously, I think that's kind of shit. I get that it's not like the biggest budget game ever, but yeah, that's kind of my first gripe right there. And there actually does end up, because it has this very minimalist UI, and you'll kind of see too that it seems like it's designed totally to also work on a tablet, which they say they're releasing, but I have not actually been able to find any information about a tablet version other than that yes, they are working on one, yes, they are doing it. Lots of sites talking about it coming at some point, but I have not seen them saying anything about yes, this is when it's coming or anything like that, and it's not available at the moment either. But so because of that, controls are kind of, if you're a PC, strategy gamer, controls are kind of a little weird. Like, I'm clicking on and dragging on these units to make these movement lines. I'm clicking and then left clicking on stuff to get it to attack. It's very odd. And then to select, you're basically doing what would be a finger drag on a tablet screen, and you can select multiple groups that way. Which I have actually found that grouping stuff to be a little buggy too, in terms of getting it to ungroup units that I've already grouped up. Fall back, guys. Alright, we are going to fall back to Oak Ridge here. So you can feel some influences from Total War for sure, and it definitely has a little bit of the look. Not really. It's like a very stylized, cartoony Total War almost. God, get out of that melee, guys. So Confederate troops are better at charging and melee combat than Union troops. Union troops are basically better at doing sustained, like, firing engagements. Supposedly. And none of that is really apparent. Like, that's one of the reasons I have such an issue with the guide being this thing that's, like, outside, is that there's not a lot of information presented in the game about that kind of stuff. So, like, if you don't... Again, I'm not a Civil War buff. I don't... like any of that kind of shit, so I'm not just gonna know like who these units are or what their best capabilities are. Just, oh, that's so and so's unit, they were at this whatever, they were this skilled unit, because obviously because they're representing real units and stuff. Units have varying skill levels and stuff like that actually corresponds to how they were. And really all you get about that is you get a little star ranking up in the upper left corner there, and that's about it. You don't get any kind of information about like, oh, hey, coming from Total War, and not like being super into Civil War history, I tried to use this cavalry like you would in Total War and charge it around the side or the back of an enemy unit. This cavalry is basically worthless. Cavalry in the Civil War, I had to find out, are basically, mostly scouts and stuff. That may be my own ignorance, but it's a video game. I want that information. In their quest for the minimalist UI, I feel like they've taken away too much information. Like, I want to know what especially because there's no, like, outside part of it's not like Total War, where I have, like, this big encyclopedia thing outside of it to actually give me a bunch of stats. No, I have to go look on a website guide and be like, oh, I guess people are saying that this is better than this. So, is it the biggest complaint, or the most meaningful complaint? Probably not, but nonetheless, it's a complaint that I have. Oh, my reinforcements need to get here. I also feel like, again, in this quest for this very minimalist UI, I feel like this information is almost so obvious. Like, the most important information is hidden up in this tiny little box in the left corner, and you never get any sort of warnings or anything. I'm all the time, constantly, while playing, finding myself wondering, well, why the hell are my troops just randomly running away for no fucking reason? Oh, I guess their in this case, their condition is totally fucked. Oh, I had no fucking idea. So, I feel like they're not doing if they're gonna minimalize all that stuff, I feel like they're not doing a good way of still making what's important easy for me to access as the player. Does it totally like make it impossible to play the game or anything? I know, obviously not, but I just feel like there are things that they could do to make it more obvious why my units are often not responding the way I would necessarily want them to. Kind of the other big thing here, too, is you don't necessarily get a lot of individual... Oh, this rotator is also horrible. Individual control over units. Along with all the touts about AI for this game, it's also your units are basically supposed to be able to take care of themselves, like the selling... it literally says, no more babysitting your units in this. Basically, your units are supposed to be able to kind of, figure out where to orient themselves and the best way to be kind of all on their own. And to some extent, that's true. They will reorient themselves if somebody flanks them and shit like that. But as for not having to babysit them, that is absolutely not the case at all. In fact, I find they're often... and this goes partially in hand with the fact that, like, the information that you need, I feel like, is just not presented in an obvious enough way either. They're often, again, just doing whatever, it seems like whatever the fuck they want. Alright, don't press too hard. You guys should fucking stay and rest up anyway. See, this is what I mean about the grouping being a little odd sometimes. Like, I just wanted that general, and somehow it was automatically grouped with other dudes and moving with them. I don't know, it just seems to be a little wonky at times. Oh, you guys have got to get out of here. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. You're basically you're doing all the broad strokes, and that's, you don't get really in there at all. And again, I feel like my biggest problem is I just don't feel like my units are often doing what I actually want them to do. And like, I get that that's because of this, morale system and stuff that's in here, and the condition system. So morale is obvious, and the condition is basically just, are your troops exhausted or not? But I just, because the information is just, again, like I said, it's just kind of sitting up there in the upper left. There's no warnings or anything. It's never obvious about it. You always have to kind of look up there at it. It's same gripe I have about UI design in MMOs when they have your health and the enemy health and stuff up in the upper left or upper right corner or wherever, when you're constantly need to be looking at the center of the screen. With as much as there is going on, I just, without constantly pausing, it's just not something that you want to be checking all the time. And again, I feel like they could do a better way of presenting that this unit is exhausted or whatever, or, oh, this unit is running for this reason, or not responding to your orders for this reason. that's my like my biggest gripe. And then my other kind of major gripe is that as we get through a phase here, so because it's split up into several days, or even the days are split up into, I think, morning, noon, and evening. So because they're split up into several phases, you get these, kind of stopping periods or rest period where the armies are resting up or whatever. But I feel like you're not where you... So, like, these victory points here, like, which are based around hills and stuff, you'll have control of the ones of those that you had, but your units won't necessarily be set up in kind of the same way you had them before, and they can be sometimes, I think, set up in kind of odd ways, forcing you to reset up lines that you already had set up and stuff. I've also had it where basically one unit will get around, and capture a hill or something behind over here, and I'll send a unit over there to go take care of it. But because it's not like Total War where you just rush a unit and eventually wear it down and then it retreats and is pretty much out of the battle. In this case, you kind of, when you have an engagement, you maybe whittle away 30, 40 troops from each side and then kind of back off, and that's the way it goes. So to get a dude out of there is a giant pain in the ass at that point. And then you end up with a situation, I ended up with a situation where, because they had a single unit, a single skirmisher unit back behind my lines, I ended up with a scenario where I was pushed all the way south of Gettysburg as my, next phase of the battle, even though I controlled all these northern victory points and stuff. It just made no sense to me. Like, really, our thousands of troops couldn't handle the, couple hundred skirmishers behind the lines there? Like, some of the stuff like that just ends up kind of being, turns me off from it. Alright, let's get these guys to advance a little bit. See, like, I don't even know what's happening here. Like, are these guys even doing anything? I'm up here, but they've captured the hill, even though I'm apparently on the high ground, but my guys are just standing there, but they're at full condition. I'm not really sure what's going on. Like, yeah, it's stuff like that that just... I feel like there's a pretty good game here, just that it has a few issues. I also feel like, again, because you're dealing with 3D terrain here, but looking at it from this above perspective, I feel like it can be hard sometimes to tell elevation. And you do have elevation lines, but now that's just another way to make the map, to make things harder to see along the map and stuff. I feel like if you're gonna play on a 3D plane, you should give me a little more tilt or a little more shading to make it easier. They have another mode in here. Actually, let's take a look at that real quick. Because you can't switch it during the battle. So this is supposed to make it easier to tell the differences in elevation and stuff. But I just feel like this makes it look like absolute shit. Basically, you get the center focus. Everything on the outer edges of the screen becomes kind of out of focus. It does make things a little more contrasted. We'll take the elevation lines off there. It does maybe make the shadows a little more contrasted. The hills a little easier to tell. But in general, I think this makes the game look like absolute crap. And it is not how I would want to play at all. So let's go ahead and turn that back off. As somebody who plays with multiple monitors too, I've found that This game gets a little wonky with when trying to do stuff on the second monitor and stuff like that and switching back and forth. It tends to not always play happy with it. It's also one of those games that just sets itself back to windowed whenever the fuck it feels like it. I know that's not a problem for everyone, but as somebody who uses more than one monitor, it is a fucking pet peeve of mine when your stuff doesn't play nicely with multiple monitors. So yeah, like I said, I think underneath there's kind of a cool game here. It is only $15, so if you're way into fucking Civil War shit, if you're way into Gettysburg, and you like strategy games, then, you know, maybe check this out. Otherwise, I would probably, you know, just put it on the back burner, wait for it to pop up on sale sometime. It's worth having a look at some point, especially if it's only like $5 or something. But I feel like maybe there's some things that need to be worked out here that have not been worked out yet, and hopefully, you know, when the next incarnation comes around, like I said, you know, he is positioning this as basically something like Total War, where it's you keep the name, you keep the mechanics, change the setting. So in this case, we, you know, get a different, you know, large famous battle or something. And so I think in future iterations, like like I said, there's a good foundation here to build on. I also think that, you know, again, being, like I said, it's obviously designed for tablets, and that kind of hurts it. These fucking ugly ass buttons over here for stuff because it's for tablet UI. It just, yeah. The concessions for that definitely hurt it as a PC player. You know, and you can say, well, it is a mobile game or whatever. Well, they released it on PC, so I expect it to also work like a fucking PC game when I'm playing it on PC. That's kind of my argument for people who say that. Alright, we got our full range of artillery coming in here. Question is it going to be in time? Should we set up just on town to reinforce back here? Yeah. Let's have those guys go over there. We are just barely managing to hold up here. Which is basically, if you're playing Union, that's pretty much your goal. You start this battle severely outnumbered, and the Confederate side gets more reinforcements than you do. Or actually, no, I think they get a little less during this portion of the battle. But you start out way outnumbered, and I think it ends up sort of even towards the end of this phase. I will say too, I totally like the stylized look of it. Like, it's pleasant as shit to look at when you don't have that crappy tilt mode on. It's a very pleasant looking game, and it's, again, you know, if I was playing it on a fucking iPad or something, maybe I would be a little more forgiving about it, but I'm not. It's on PC, and I'm playing it on PC, and that's how I've got to judge it. And as a PC game, I just feel it falls a bit short. Let's get those guys to back up over there. Reinforce the line here, so that these guys can maybe make a little bit of an advance. Are these dudes able to fire? Yeah. Send the skirmishers north here to fire on these guys. Oh, so we've got these dudes. They aren't. I guess they're not firing at them, even though they were in range and on their flank. But sure. Okay, so yeah, now these guys just retreated a little bit from the battle. I have zero fucking clue why. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about that I just find very frustrating as a player. Like, oh, okay, I guess their condition is kind of getting low, but it was at 10% even when I selected them. So it's not like they're completely out. It's, yeah, it's stuff like that that's kind of frustrating to me. Oh, fall back. Okay, go ahead and relieve these dudes, because they're just running. I don't know, again, I think maybe coming from Total War also, and, you know, having a little bit of that expectation since he is a Total War modder, maybe hurts me as well. Just because you have more of this expectation that superior numbers will generally dictate a lot, and it's not necessarily the case here, and that is cool. Like, yeah, the fact that there are systems in place so that it's not just about throwing numbers at it and all of that. But at the same time, it can be frustrating, like when I was talking about earlier, where you're throwing a troop, a full brigade of 1,400 guys at a couple hundred skirmishers, and you like pick off 3 and they're still just able to hold a point or whatever. That kind of stuff just doesn't quite make sense to me. I also feel like maybe there needs to be like, generals in Total War have the ability to kind of inspire troops and stuff, and there is like an extent of that. So my general being within radius of these guys makes them recover condition and faster and have a little bit more better morale. But there's no like, I need to make this charge right now and these guys are low. Here, let's make an inspiring anything like that. Like, I get that that's not necessarily the most realistic thing. It's maybe a little more gamey request than design has intended for here, but I think it would go a long way in making me feel like I had at least a little more agency over my troops. Alright, so yeah, we should be pressing it. There's cavalry over here that I totally have forgotten about. So like, I can send my cavalry at these guys. They'll come by, they will take off a couple of units and then run the fuck away again. Again, maybe it's just a historical disconnect because I'm not super into fucking Civil War history and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not super aware of actual military tactics from the period. But I feel like these guys on horseback should be able to go in and pretty heavily disrupt some people operating cannons, not just take a couple of them out and then have to run away again. See? So the reason the battle is being delayed is because we're still fighting over a victory point, probably because of this one here. because of Oak Ridge. So if they entirely capture Oak Ridge, or if I back off of it, the fight will end. Or if I get in there and capture it, which we're going to try and do. Oh, nope. Hold your position. Never mind. I lied. Don't move. Because you have no condition. You go ahead and actually stay there because you're going to be in a good position to fire on them while they retreat. We'll have Baxter fire on Brockenbrough. Okay, they're apparently too tired now. Alright, I'm gonna have them charge in and take this hill so that we can get a move on from this part. Now we'll have these guys move now that they have a little energy again. So yeah, I don't know. Despite my gripes, I still find myself getting on and messing with it, you know, here and there. So it's definitely, like, it's not terrible. I just there are some shortcomings. There's some stuff that I definitely want to, you know, kind of see maybe change the next time around. And some stuff, though, I mean, I can, you know, is obviously, like, fundamentally me not necessarily agreeing with decisions they made while deciding on design, and that's not something I expect them to change, you know, in terms of like how the morale and condition system works and all of that. Like, that has been purposely designed the way it is. Okay, go ahead and hold that charge and hold there. So I feel, you know, and I don't, like I said, I think the system itself is really cool. I just feel like the game doesn't do the best job of making me aware of all of that information, like why my units are behaving the way they are. Alright, what's going up on the north side here? Oh yeah, we got these guys still just chilling out. Okay, we have secured Oak Ridge, so we should be able to show you the next phase here in just a second. And we want to start moving our cannons up as well. And so, like, there, you know, there's, you know, I can select what types of shot I want my cannons to fire, for instance. But if I want to know what these different types of shot, what these different types of shot are, if I don't just know, if I don't know that canister fire is the close range thing or whatever, you know, you have to go look at that guide on their forums, and that's, again, I feel like, you know, some tooltips and stuff would go a long way. A little more information would go a long way. I get that they were trying to be, you know, the idea was somewhat minimalist. I think just it's gone slightly too minimalist. Have we not captured the point? I don't know what's going on. Oh, nope. Don't do that. Let's try for a little bit of an advance here. While these guys start firing on Archer. Lead them on a wild goose chase. Oh man, look at those cavalry get decimated. See, yeah, this is another instance of where I just feel like the game is not doing a good job of clearly conveying the information that is there. It's just not conveying it to me well. Like, why is the battle still delayed? Battle delayed. Okay, great. I, as far as I know, have these victory points in my control. Why is the battle still delayed? Oh, this is not gonna go awesome. Eventually, it'll hit a point where it actually just moves on to the next phase. And that's kind of, you know, at the same time, that can also be super annoying too, because I've had it hit like, oh, you know, I am seconds away from basically taking over a point. You know, they're retreating off of a hill or whatever, but it ends the phase. So all of a sudden, when we get into the next phase of the battle, now they're back in control of that hill or whatever, because they wasn't quite finished forcing them out of there yet. I don't know, I think the way the phases carry over from one to another leaves a bit to be desired. There's gotta be maybe a better way to handle that or something. I don't know what that is. I don't have the answer. I just know that it doesn't feel great. Like, I haven't had a single transition from one phase to the next where I've been like, yeah, that is totally how I want it to be. Or yeah, that is totally reflective of how I felt the battle was going. That honestly has not happened. Come on, phase. Okay, there we go. That wasn't too bad. Managed to stave off not too many losses. So now all this morale and condition and stuff, that'll carry over. And that's the other thing I don't necessarily get. If we're resting in between, why is my condition, if a unit was tired as shit before, why is it not fine after we've rested? After we've had this supposed rest period or whatever. Like the morale carrying over I feel like condition should reset. Since it's supposedly, you know, a lull in the battle or whatever. But so since I was doing kind of decent and was holding, you know, north of Gettysburg there, didn't get pushed all the way back into town, I actually get some options as to how I want to deploy for the upcoming battle. And these are dependent on how things go. If things go very poorly, you won't even get an option really. It'll be, hey, you've been pushed back. In some cases, it'll be, hey, you've been pushed back to here. Don't fuck it up, or you lose the battle. So, yeah, why would we want to pull all the way back if we've done well at securing that ground so far? So we want to defend what we've already held on to. So yeah, now this is the point where they'll start outnumbering us over the course of the day, over the course of this phase because of the reinforcements. See, now this is what I'm talking about. My units are all kind of like they're sort of where they were, but not really, and now they're in like really wonky, shitty positions. instead of the line that I had set up already. I don't feel like these transitions, I feel like like I said, there has to be a better way to handle this. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there has to be a better way to handle this. Like, it shouldn't come into every phase feeling like, oh, now I gotta set everything back the fuck up again. But alas, that is how it does seem to go. So yeah, that's Ultimate General Gettysburg. Like, it's available on Steam now. It is in full release. It's not early access anymore. It's $15. Like I said, I would, if you're not, unless you're like super into this and you're looking at this going like, yes, that is exactly what I want, I would totally, if you're just kind of like just a casual strategy fan or whatever, and looking at it, I would wait until it's on sale, or maybe pass on it altogether and wait for the next iteration. They're also, like I said, there's supposed to be a tablet version, iOS as far as I know. I didn't see anything about Android, but I haven't even really seen much about the iOS version other than that it supposedly exists. Several sites have previews and stuff saying that this game is coming to tablets and all of that, but I don't see any like release dates or anything like that. So not sure what the deal is with that. So yeah, that's Ultimate General Gettysburg. As always, you can check out more over at questingforpixels.com. Thanks for watching.